what is quiet quitting and is it a problem? Vicki, let's go ahead and start with you on this one.
Yeah. So I mean, quiet quitting, I feel like it's a buzzword, and as I understand it, I love what someone said about putting boundaries in. That's what it really feels like to me. So I don't really see it as a problem. I think it's a problem when we are expecting people to do extra work and they're not being recognized or it's not leading to something. And we're basically, I think, kind of reverting to this maybe coin operated machine mentality of I pay you, so you should do this for me. Right. And when really it's like, okay, well, what's kind of impacting the motivation of this person to do work? Because I don't think it's about the time of day necessarily. It's like, what are you working on? Does it bring you energy? Does it help the company? Because there's a mutually beneficial relationship that I think is supposed to be happening kind of in this space. So yeah, when I first saw this, I was like, oh, so you mean people are just doing the amount of work they should be doing? Cool. Like, isn't that what we should be expecting people to be doing now? Is kind of where my brain landed.
I totally agree. In my head, it's like, oh, this is a catchier way to say not engaged. This is like people raising their hands and saying like, listen, maybe I was engaged, or maybe I pretended to be engaged before, I want to be engaged, but currently right now I'm just not, and I'm okay with not being engaged. And I think I agree with your point. If this is just defined as like you're doing your job requirements and sort of nothing more, I think it's okay, right? Like I think if there's a problem there, the problem are probably more with what's the job requirements, right? Like
Mhm.
actually figure figure out what that is. I also think it's a buzzword because it's like a fear mongering thing for employers, right? The employers look at this and they go, hold on a second, is quiet quitting like people just not working at all and not getting things done, and I'm paying them money when they're otherwise like they've quit doing work? And so I think it gathers a lot of clicks. I think it gathers a lot of attention and views, and it sort of self perpetuates into mainstream that way. A lot of fear mongering and a lot of things that I think employees can look at and say like, yeah, maybe it is normal for me to just like be done work at 5. Maybe that's okay for now. I think it
Yeah.
works on both sides.
Yeah, I think if there is a problem, it's kind of around this definition. I think, especially, this is probably more of a US centric kind of mentality, but the more work you put into something or the more hours you put into something is how we define kind of who we are in some ways. And it's not healthy. And I think we figured that out too in the last couple of years, that that's not correct. And to really focus more on, hey, what am I supposed to be doing? What is the impact that I'm making? How do we also set healthy boundaries so that I can, I think, to Brennan's point, stay engaged in what I'm doing too? Because hopefully I spend so much time at work, I want to be excited about what I'm doing.
I think that's the other part of it is like as much as it's maybe a good thing to have balance in your life and set boundaries in your life, I think it's also sad that we're maybe talking about uh sad that we're saying like, hey, it's okay to spend 8 hours a day on something that you don't find meaningful, right? Like I would rather us, instead of quiet quitting, just in some cases outright quit and work together as a society to get the right people in the right roles and the right companies where they're like, I'm still working 8 hours a day, I've still set my boundaries, but I'm elated that I'm working at this company or on this problem set or whatever.
Mhm.
That said, we talked about this a little bit earlier too. This isn't a new thought. Like if you think about like, your grandparents in North America, they just went to work and had a job,
Mhm.
right? Like it wasn't their entire identity. They didn't have social profiles set up, or the first thing says they're, marketing at company. Their social media profiles probably, going to neighbors' houses and talking and actually having things in common uh, outside of work. And so I think maybe this is a little bit of the pendulum swinging backward to, what, maybe the workplace economy used to look like a long time ago.